On the topic of serious character issues, what would that entail? Where do we need to worry?
We need to worry when we have any substantial criminal record where the person has been convicted for at least 1 year of imprisonment.
Mm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our episode of Crystal Cast. And my name is Juan.
And I'm Ross, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you, Juan. Another episode, another week.
Yes.
Now, Juan, onto our topic of the week. I was doing a bit of research, and it seems to be that visas that have a character issue tend to be cancelled and refused on a much higher basis than they were in the previous year. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to discuss, well, what is character, what's assessed as part of the character, and what needs to be declared. So I wanted to ask you a question. Well, what is character? What needs to be assessed as part of the application?
Yeah, character definitely speaks about how the person behaves in society. What are those actions they have done in the past that have perhaps impacted other people or in violation of the law?
Mm.
And that's when we have problems with character.
And so, for example, if I get a traffic fine, would that be an issue?
Well, look, maybe not an issue, or it wouldn't be a big issue, but when you have many fines or many traffic offenses, then it can it can define a little bit of what your character is.
Mm.
Because if you're not respecting the law, the traffic laws, then you're not gonna. That speaks of you of not having a good character.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's where we do need to draw that distinction, because you've got sort of, well, traffic offense is a traffic offense, and you pay a fine. Generally, it won't be included on your police check unless it's sort of a, high drink driving range. I think for me, the first thing I normally do is I'll ask clients to forward me, sort of any court documents. Because with character, what I find personally when I deal with matters is that there's the issue, there's what client tells you, and then there's the actual record of it. So the police check might say something a little bit difficult, or something a bit more sort of serious. But on the topic of serious character issues, what would that entail? Where do we need to worry?
Yeah, Ross, I think we need to worry when we have any substantial criminal record where the person has been convicted for at least 1 year of imprisonment.
Mm.
And it can be one sentence or it can be a series of sentences that would result in the total of the person spending a year in prison. That's when we have a concern and potentially having to address this in a hefty submission to
Yeah.
attempt and try to make the person pass the character test. So yeah, this is the time we have to speak about the character test.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, Ross.
Yeah, look, with characters, so you've got public interest criteria in a visa PIC 4001, but that addresses more of that the person doesn't have character issues. So, for example, let's say, I don't know, I was involved in an assault, and I might have got, say, a fine, or maybe potentially 3 months good behavior bond. Now that wouldn't cross over the threshold of a substantial character, so we're not really crossing into section 501, which talks about substantial criminal record. So with that, what you need to look at under the Migration Act is whether the person passes the character test. Now, citizenship is a little bit different. I'll talk about that in a second, but where we need to be concerned is the section 501, which is what you mentioned, the substantial character. So say, for example, someone has a drug offense, maybe trafficking, and they received a 12-month prison sentence, and they might have only served 7. But the issue is it's that 12-month prison sentence. So that's where you've got the substantial character issue becoming a problem. And it is quite serious, because essentially there will be almost a I want to use the right terminology, but it will almost be a presumption to cancel the visa unless you can demonstrate to the delegate why the visa shouldn't be cancelled,
Mm,
which is why you get issued a notice of intention to cancel. So those words already indicate that the department intends to cancel
yeah,
your visa,
yeah.
and you're basically providing submissions to why the department should change their mind. So if you do receive that and you don't respond, the visa will be cancelled. It's not a question of whether it'll be
Mm,
cancelled,
mm,
it will be cancelled.
yeah.
And there's criteria such as expectations of Australian community, and when you look at the law behind it,
Yeah.
it says, well, as a society, we expect that people behave in a way where they don't get a 12 months prison sentence. And with citizenship, and I know that we've covered this in our previous episodes
Mm,
when there was a random question that came in
mm.
about a person vaping.
Ah,
Do you remember
yes,
that? Yeah,
yes,
a
yes, that's
person
right.
vaping on school grounds. So with citizenship, it's different because it looks at personal attributes.
Mm,
So going back to your traffic offences, if someone's just deliberately breaking the law all the time, they might be okay for to get the visa because as long as they don't get a 12 months imprisonment. But for citizenship, if I look at your record and you're just speeding all the time, or you're parking illegally, whatever it might be, you can actually not get the citizenship.
mm,
So
mm.
it is it's quite a contentious topic. But I know that you've been working on quite a few character
That's
cases.
right. That's right.
So you got plenty of examples. What's probably the most sort of interesting case that you've worked on when it comes to character, substantial character?
Well, that's a good question. And with this example, I want to speak about instances where the person may have not been sentenced to a year of
Mm,
imprisonment, however, still constitute a significant or substantial criminal record. And
yeah,
this is when a minor is involved.
yeah, that
Uh,
can get very tricky,
yeah,
hey?
which is very delicate, and obviously there will be. It's almost impossible to make room to justifications or ways to defend cases like this.
Mm,
However, look, there are cases that are like the like how things happen or how the events developed like are incredibly rare.
yeah,
So yeah, that's one of the cases that I'm more interested at the moment is where a child minor is involved.
yeah,
And
and you're right. It is delicate because, well, I mean, there's obviously confidentiality, so I can't go
mm,
into the particulars of the case because it's still live. But I like what you said before. You need to look at the whole context of what
oh yeah,
happened. Yeah.
oh yeah, 100%. That's why I like this case is very interesting, and obviously we cannot disclose much details about it.
Mm,
But yeah, it's very interesting. And how I said, Ross, like there will be instances in which the department is gonna look at sentences that are not a year long,
yeah.
but they're gonna be substantial, and it's gonna be a mandatory cancellation.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's the other problem. Hey, the Section 5 CA
Yeah,
mandatory cancellation,
yeah.
and there's specific provisions that talk about when the visa must be cancelled.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
but what would be your advice if someone does receive say a notice of intention to cancel? What would you say needs to be done as a first instance?
Well, definitely have a look at the whole circumstance and prepare a very well documented response
Mm,
to that notice of intention. To consider the cancellation of the visa because there will be cases where we can demonstrate to the department that the person passes the character tests.
yeah,
There is a number of programs that people can complete. This is just an example of how a person can recover from those um, facts
yeah,
or you know what I mean. And even when a person is in prison, they have the chance to complete programs to recover and be fit to be back into community.
yeah. So sort of like a rehabilitation program.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah.
So prepare a response, put everything together, put character reference together people that know this individual to demonstrate that the person passes the character. So
Yeah.
it's not always everything lost.
Mm.
I think like you were saying before, Ross, when you see the circumstances where things happened, you never know, and there is always a chance to
Yeah.
continue being in the community.
Yeah, but it's certainly interesting. I personally love doing character submissions and dealing with cases because there's what's on a police check, but then once you learn what happens behind the scenes, it could be a very different story.
Absolutely.
Now, Juan, we haven't played a game for a while, so
Yeah.
I feel like it's time for that. So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a word. Doesn't really need to be immigration, so we might step outside a little bit. Well, depending on who wins, we choose a word and then you respond back by suggesting a similar word. So, for example, pool, swim, and so forth.
Alright.
But to get us started, let's do scissors, paper, rock. Scissors, paper, rock.
You win.
All right. Okay. Garden,
Flower,
tree,
grass,
soil,
Soil.
seeds.
All right, 1 point to 1.
Damn it!
All right, so you cannot say S or
C.
C. Oh, plane,
Air,
sun.
I'm like, what are you doing?
And we just said it.
All right. So 1 point each. Okay. So this is like the determining factor,
Yes.
basically. All right. Okay. Office,
Desk,
window,
door,
glass,
view,
work.
housework related to me.
Oh, I have to relate to actual. Yeah. So, do I lose?
Yeah.
I win.
And that's all that we have time for today, Juan. It was nice to chat with you. I love that chat about the character, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.